Ba-da-ba-ba, ba-da-ba-ba. All right. Promoter 101. 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 Promoter 101.
I'm Amy Morrison. I work at Concerts West, AEG Presents, and I'm on Promoter 101.
Promoter 101 back for everybody to enjoy here. The second episode of our newly changed format here, Dan, and we're excited with some things to come later in this podcast. What are we looking at?
Well, we've got Mr. Tim Higgins talking about the ins and outs of the arena business.
Later on in the podcast, Agent to the Stars at Paradigm, Seth Malasky, is going to turn the tables on us.
And we'll have news of the week with, you, Luke Pierce. So there you go.
Josh Javor, X-Ray Touring. I'm on Promoter 101.
Well, if you've missed any of the past podcasts, well, my friends, I've got a deal for you. For just nothing down and nothing a week, you can have the entire Promoter 101 back catalog at your click and beck and call. All you have to do is go to promoter101.net and look up any of the past episodes you want. This week, can we offer you a perfect selection? We've paired this week with a vintage episode 74 selection for you. I think it's quite the pairing. Luke, can you tell them about this perfect selection?
Well, when it comes down to selecting wines, anytime you hear the name Opus in things, you think pretty well. And on this podcast, we were joined by Opus 3 artists, Sarah Pelch, agent out in Aspen, Colorado, sat down, as well as C3's Charles Attal, one of the original partners, about the rise of their business prior to their sale to Live Nation a couple of years back. And we also had a war story from Live Nation's Rich Best and a bonus interview. A&R side of the things, we decided to visit out manager and publisher to some of the biggest names in the pop world. We sat down with Milk and Honey's Lucas Keller.
Can we talk? Just you and me, not podcast host and listener, but as friends. Seriously, can we be honest for just a second? Why the fuck have you not dropped us a review or even subscribed? I mean, come on, I do it for you, right? So do me a solid here. Please help me out and just click the button. Give us a review. Follow us. It costs you nothing. All right, enough Jewish guilt.
Yeah, you did a pretty solid job of painting Jewish guilt all over everybody, Dan, and thanks for that segment.
Well, call your mother.
It's Adam Voith from Billions, and I'm on Promoter 101.
News of the week.
Please welcome the Honorable W. Luke Pierce with the news of the week.
It's time for News of the Week, and we're going to start here. A story rocking the artist world this week, as last week, industry pundit Bob Lefsetz published an email about his conversation with manager Ron Stone, who complained that his client, rocker band Fastball, had not received the $20,000 that band raised on crowdfunding platform Pledge Music. Reports that actually surfaced in December that Pledge Music was late on paying its artists for pre-sale and crowdfunding campaigns, and those problems persisted into the new year. Management of Pledge Music had promised to correct these problems, but still, problems persisted, and dozens of artists have reported unpaid funds, while complaining that Pledge Music will not provide answers or often even responses to their inquiries. This week, Pledge founder and former CEO Benji Rogers has returned to the fold to the company as a strategic advisor. Many artists are still left unpaid. And if you are one of those and you're listening to this podcast, we'd love to talk to you in next week's news. Email us at Steiny@promoter101.net. Earnings on the street. That's right. Wall Street turning around with the 2019 earnings season, and among them, some media giants announcing some record profits in 2018, a highlight of the health of the record and promotions business. SiriusXM posted a record profit in 2018 of $1.18 billion as the world turns its eyes to the closing of its $3.5 billion deal to acquire Pandora. It also marked the ouster of Pandora's CEO Roger Lynch, as all businesses at Pandora are going to now report to Sirius CEO Jim Meyer. On an earnings call on Wednesday, Myers spoke to the new combined reach of this platform, which, between the 34 million subscribers on Sirius and the 69 million on Pandora, takes that new company to the magic 100 million listener mark. Considering that Spotify has 60 million in North America with only 27 million paying, this would be one of the largest services in North America. They also highlighted cost savings, more data collection and cross-selling, and the certainty of the company were sold to the investors on that call. They also announced it inked a deal with Toyota to expand the installation of SiriusXM into all U.S. models, starting with the 2020 models that are produced later this year. Some more good music highlighting the health of the record business, as Sound Exchange announced that it paid $950 million in 2018 to artists and labels, which represented a 46.2% increase over its 2017 total. To date, that U.S.-based collective has paid more than $6 billion to artists and labels since it started in 2008. Finally, we'll end with some commotion in my home in Music City as Warner Chappell Music announced the promotion of Ben Vaughn to role of CEO and president of Warner Chappell Music Nashville. And Sony Music Nashville announced the exit of widely respected executive John Zarling from the CMO role, citing a mutual understanding between Zarling and Sony Music. That'll do it for News of the Week.
Hey, Harlan Fry here from Atlantic Records, sitting with my good buddy Dan Steinberg, Promoter 101. Let's go.
We're excited to be joined in this podcast by Paradigm's Seth Malasky, who's here to turn the tables on Steiny. This seems something that Seth would be very suited for, so let's see what happens.
The legendary Seth Malasky from Paradigm Talent. What do you got for us, Seth?
So, Dan, I'm thinking a lot about lessons that I've learned in the new year, and I'm curious this past year if you have any lessons that you're taking into 2019.
It's better not to lose money. It's better to make money.
Good lesson.
Fuck the softball. What was your question?
Well, you know what my first question was? You know, my other question, it's a more personal question, though.
I'm good with that.
Do you remember our one big fight?
Oh, I do.
But I don't know that's a good turn the tables.
I do remember our fight. Working on a home free tour, you pissed me off.
It wasn't a home free tour. Ah, you don't remember.
I remember I didn't talk to you for like 2 weeks.
You
couldn't get me on the phone.
Exactly. I had to have like 4 different people call you to get us back on the phone. Do you remember what it was?
I don't. I thought it was home free.
It was the Tenors in Fort Myer, Barbara B. Mann.
Yeah.
And we talked and you were like, no, I'm going to wait a year. I said, fine. But then you got a phone call the next day from the PBS station saying someone called about the Tenors and you freaked out on me. But what were they calling about? The Celtic Tenors.
Was it the wrong Tenors?
Yeah, it was. It was. You were so angry at me.
I was wrong?
And it was, you got wrong information. So the PBS person called and said, oh, someone's calling asking about the Tenors. And you were like,
can I beg you?
Yes. And this whole time I've been waiting for us to talk about this.
Well, here in front of the entire studio audience, I would like to apologize.
Apology accepted.
All right. Well, turning the tables with Seth Malasky. Fuck me. Seth has a feature interview coming up in the next episode, so keep your eyes peeled for that one.
This is Brian Hill from CAA in Nashville, and against my mother's wishes, I'm in Dan Steinberg's hotel room doing the Promoter 101 podcast.
Tweets of the week.
It is the Steiny Wisdom Hour portion of this podcast, brought to you by the mind of Dan Steinberg. You can follow him on Twitter at The Jew.
It's really not an hour, Luke. It's just moments, really. Fleeting moments.
I feel like we could dedicate an entire hour to it, but today we're only going to take the best. Let's start here. What about these stupid people in Monday mornings?
The world may never know, but there are so many stupider people on Mondays for some reason than any other day. Ain't that the case? Especially because it is Monday morning while we're recording this segment, and I'm feeling it hardcore right now, Luke. Oh, I wasn't calling you stupid, by the way. Let's be very clear. I did not mean you.
I knew what you meant, and I appreciate you clarifying for all the listeners out there. He wasn't calling me stupid.
Actually, I think you may know who I mean.
Yep.
I digress.
When someone doesn't get their way, so they warn me they're going to call my partner instead.
Great. Would you like me to transfer you? Good luck with that.
Particularly your business partner. I don't think that ever goes over well with Jason Zink.
He's a loyal guy. Yeah, he doesn't like when you go over my head.
Worth a shot, though. We'd love to talk about it later in this podcast when you try it. How about this one? Airing dirty laundry makes you look small.
I see a lot of this, especially on social media. Someone calls someone else out. It's a clear sign to stay away from them. I mean, it's like telling you you're going to be their next victim. If you get into business with them and you disagree with them on anything, they're going to call you out publicly. Stay away from these people. Or just shut the fuck up about it and dial it like an adult, for God's sakes. Jeez.
That'll do it for some Promoter 101 tweets of the week. Make sure you keep up with Dan on Twitter. He's at The Jew.
You get the irony about me telling you shouldn't air dirty laundry while I'm doing it on the internet, right?
I do get the irony, but it's anonymous dirty laundry. We're not talking specifics here, Dan.
For educational purposes. I passed the hypocritical oath.
The hypocritical oath. Yes, that's right. You got it.
I like that. It's very Stephen Wright, I think. I like that. I don't know if anybody said that before, but I'm owning it.
This is Eric Dimmenstein from Ground Control Touring. I'm on Promoter 101.
In our feature interview this week, we've got from SMG in Kent, Washington, a.k.a. the greater Seattle area, Mr. Tim Higgins. sitting down with Dan to talk about the ins and outs of the arena business.
Hanging out in the office and visited by Tim Higgins. Welcome.
Thank you, Dan. Great being here. Great office. Love your space.
I appreciate it. Venue guys across the world have a certain set need to fill dark dates. And when you run an arena at the level of an SMG type of venue, you are expected to just keep the shows flowing through. Your sports teams only give you so many nights, right? So you got to fill the other nights, and that's your job to get creative.
Correct.
Where do you start?
Well, in this market, I know you're aware, we compete with 24 venues in a 50-mile radius. This is a crazy market.
So we should say that you're greater Seattle area, you're in Kent, Washington.
Correct. Thank you. Yes.
Showwear Center, which you guys just changed your name
to Accesso Showwear.
So the ticketing company changed their name?
They did. They were purchased by another ticketing company called Accesso, and now it's Accesso Showwear Center.
So in your capacity is what, like 5,500, right?
Oh, we can squeeze $7,000.
Okay, that's a nice gross at 7,000 tickets.
Yes, I call it a hustle, trying to bring events to this building. Similar to finding local promoters. We do a lot with local promoters. A lot of people that want to be promoters, we work with them. To my staff, I tell them it's like fitting a square peg in a round hole. We beat the hell out of it. We get there. At the end of the day, it's great, but it's a challenge. It's all about, like you said, having content and keeping content in the building and working it daily. It's a hustle.
So you can get close to, I don't know, $1 million gross in a venue, your capacity with current ticket prices of the top tier acts.
Yeah, we've seen 600.
Okay, so the grosses get up there, right? So a lot of risk, a lot of guarantees. You guys self-promote? You guys co-promote? How does that work?
We'll co-promote. We'll go to risk for the right show. Most of our shows are co-promotes.
Okay, so when it comes to content, people are bringing you rentals, bringing co-promotes. Are there acts that people are calling you with that you're like, I have no idea what this is. I've never heard of this. I mean, obviously somebody calls you with a Kenny Rogers or a Scorpions, you know what that is. But there's some things that aren't just traditional acts. They're brand new acts that are just breaking. They're EDM acts. They're Latino acts. They're foreign K-pop acts that are suddenly just all of a sudden worth arena level business. For you, taking care of your venue, doing the proper due diligence has got to be a thing before you rent to someone if you don't know who the act is, right?
Correct. What we always do is making sure if we don't know the act, and even at that point, if we know the promoter and trust the promoter, we're going to trust the act. The Live Nations, the AEGs, the Emporiums. I mean, that's easy.
Why, thank you.
Scorpions, that was awesome. But anyways, getting back to your question with the acts, if it's a promoter that wants to come in and invest in an act in the building, we'll contact the agent immediately. We'll connect with the agent, kind of get that relationship with the agency, making sure that it's all good, making sure that the money's laid down, making sure that this is legit. And on the other side, the agency is grateful that we did contact them, knowing that the promoter is legit, and then we know where we're going for the show. Yes, sometimes the show doesn't break and do as well as the promoter hoped it would. And to your question regarding all the new acts coming in, yes, there's some even recently that I don't know who they are. Do our research and look at the market, research Polestar, Billboard, and take it from there.
Okay, so Key Arena is being remodeled, so they're down. Does that give you guys a chance to grab more volume as there's less options in the market for the moment?
There is. Key Arena, again, you're looking at a 16,000-seat arena. We can push 7 in ours, but we are seeing some events coming our way.
It's you and Everett that are really fighting for shows, right? Because you're similar capacity.
They can push 10K up in our market.
Yeah, but just basically Canada once you go that far past Seattle, right?
I agree. Thank you. I was just going to say that. It's pretty far away, Dan. It's pretty far north. And we sit directly south of Seattle and directly north of Tacoma. So we're, equidistant between the two cities. A great location.
Okay, and everybody works with you, right? I mean, you're seeing AEG shows, you're seeing Live Nation shows, you're seeing a bunch of the independents come in, right?
Correct, yes.
And everything seems to kind of work there. You guys could do the open floor, you can do the thrust, you can hang the big productions from the ceiling, you've got enough fly points on the grid.
It all works. We all serve a purpose in the market. Like I said earlier, there's 24 venues in a 50-mile radius. I know that because when we opened, usually when you open a building, there's that honeymoon period. We didn't experience that because the market is so saturated with venues. They didn't need to play our venue, and we had some traction. We've had some very good successes, and I truly believe success begets success. Again, one of the things, thanks to you and the Scorpion State, and we've been flowing ever since.
Yeah, we've had great success in your venue. It's a gorgeous room, and it's also the most convenient and closest room to my home and my office.
Yeah,
so I'm a huge fan. Yeah. I'm a huge fan of it.
Thank you.
We've also pulled some amazing grosses out of there, and you guys have been great partners to work with. But let's talk about going back. I mean, venue getting built from ground up, SMG getting the contract and then putting you in place here. I get all of that. But how do you get to the point where SMG says, got a brand new venue coming up, it's going to be a jewel for us? Who's the guy we tap to oversee this whole thing? That's high praise right there.
Yeah, actually, they did give me a call. I was working for, at the time I was in San Jose State University, working for the competitor and running San Jose State University Stadium, trying to get that up and running. I did get a call from SMG, who I previously worked for, and a few other venues. I'm asking if I wanted to look at this market and this venue. And I said, yeah, sure. He came up and interviewed. It was a great interview with the city. Loved what I was getting into. Got the offer, and 10 years later, here I am. It's actually 10 years next year, 10-year anniversary.
Wow, 10 years.
Time flies.
So you guys have a hockey team?
Correct. Seattle Thunderbirds.
Okay, so they've moved around a little bit throughout the course of the years, but they've seen an uptick in ticket sales since they've come over here, right?
Correct. We're averaging just over 4K a game, and our per caps are doing just well over 12. So it's doing very well.
Did the interest in hockey go up when people started to see the possibility of us getting a major league NHL team in Seattle?
Still holding, but we believe the NHL team coming here is going to pique the interest and it's going to do well for us.
Okay, so Seattle has a major league baseball team, and they've got several minor league teams. And they're able to support at least 2 franchises, as Everett has one and Tacoma has one. And it doesn't seem to hurt business at all. Do you think that it'll be one of those things that rising tides lifts all ships, that it's going to be a good thing that hockey's coming in, or is that going to hurt you guys?
No, it's going to be a good thing. If you asked me 3 or 4 years ago, I was mixed on that opinion. But as time went on, I did some research on my own, talked to people, talked to our season ticket holders, ticket prices, the traffic. Yeah, it's going to do well in Key Arena or whatever the name's going to be. Hockey's going to do well. But that's going to raise the interest, as you said, it's going to raise the interest of hockey overall and have better awareness for hockey. And our ticket prices are very affordable.
Obviously, there's the concert business to fill dark nights. You also have to deal with finding other content. In that case, you've been creative in the world of sports because you bring in things like Globetrotters. I don't know if that's just like pro wrestling. Is it sports? Is it entertainment? Is it a mixture? And you bring in Disney on Ice. You bring in other of the Feld type products to fill your room. And you've gotten very creative figuring out how to do that multiple times a year. And it's multiple shows. Used to be the circus, although that seemed to have gone away since that's got sunsetted. But finding these different creative ways to fill the room. When you're thinking of these things outside the box, what can we come up with to fill the room? Anything is possible.
Anything is possible. And he's looking to fill dates. Good example, lingerie football. I'm sorry, they changed the name to Legends football. We do 2 events a year.
But they used to do more, right? It was
always 2. It was always 2.
Oh, because 2 on the road, 2.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. There's no preseason. Is there playoffs? Is there Super Bowl?
Playoffs, yes. There's a potential for a playoff for us.
Okay, cool.
And we draw $2,500 for that. And, it makes us money. It's a great event.
I've been. It's fun.
Getting back to Key Arena being closed, Seattle University, they have a strong interest. And they played 2 games with us this year. I'm meeting with them next week regarding a potential 4 to 5 more games next year.
So you've got that. That's creative. Mm-hmm. What about things like RV shows or trade shows? I mean, are you guys doing that stuff too?
We are to a certain extent.
Weddings?
We're open to weddings.
Have you done it?
We've done an Indian wedding. Yes, we have.
It's a big room for a wedding. But you guys can cut down, right?
We cut it down. We put the curtains up. It's a great hall. There's 17,000 square feet on the floor. We do a lot of banquets.
Easy highway access. Plenty of parking. And you guys don't charge for parking, which is one of my favorite highlights of your venue. Just come, spend your money on the show. Don't spend your money in the parking lot. I think that's one of the best things you guys do.
I always believe that $20 parking, they're going to buy another beer instead of that. That's
all right. And you guys have done some of the cage fights and some of the other sporting event, right? And that's televised stuff, right? Like Showtime's done their cage fighting stuff there.
We have. That's done very well. We're looking at right now, there's another one coming up called Glory Kickboxing. That's going to be huge. So we're working on that right now. I can talk about it because it's confirmed.
Okay. So how many shows a year, roughly?
220 all
That's
in.
including the tenants of the hockey team.
Correct. 220 all in, everything from banquets to
4 or 5 events a week. You guys are working.
Yes.
Is there a busy season?
We thought there was, but now even into summer, we're rolling into summer. June is, we do 17 graduations in June. This year we have Judas Priest. We're working on a Mexican show in June. So we're going to have 24 days in June of events.
That's a busy June.
And June is going to be busy for us.
The only month outside you don't actually need to worry about rain in Seattle, but
yeah.
You're in a market with a ton of different promoters. I mean, there's probably more independent promoters in the Northwest than maybe any other market in the country. I mean, you've got Monkey, you've got Thrasher, you've got Mark Adler, you've got UFC doing stuff. And there's a handful of other guys running around doing stuff, maybe not on arena level yet. But it's a busy market on top of all of the majors being here. So with all of those players, how do you stay Switzerland so everybody wants to work with you and not pick a side?
I just stay Switzerland. Just work with everybody. What do they need to help me to get them in my room? We don't want anyone to lose money. That's important to us. As a building, we don't want to lose money. And we can't lose money because we're city subsidized. But we don't want our promoters to ever walk out with a loss. So how do we make that happen going in? And that's my first question.
And your run has been fairly successful in all genres, right? Christian, country, classic rock, metal, EDM, right? Has been successful in your room too.
EDM has, but like I said, we only have about 18,000 square feet on the floor. So, some mild EDM, Pretty Lights was successful, but
easy listening EDM. Did we just coin something new? Easy listening EDM.
Well, something more.
It's like Tom Jones, but it's like.
WAMU always seems to be the place for that play because it's a flat floor. I mean, we don't have a lot of space on the floor, so.
WAMU. There's just so many venues in this market. You just keep naming competitors.
Yeah.
And there's another one coming in Bellevue, right? Or Bellingham. Like, we got more coming up. You never know. I don't know. I think there's a gas station opening up in Tukwila. It's going to be huge. It seems like if there's a Walmart, there's a play. Any advice for people that want to be in that venue management world? How to get your feet wet?
Start at the bottom. Learn every aspect of this business.
What's the bottom? Is that the loading dock? Or,
I would say if you're that eager to get into it, start at the loading dock. Start in the box office as a box office person, a seller. If you're young enough and you want to stay with it, stick with it. And you start working your way through. We'll learn every aspect of this business. I started when I was 18 years old to put myself through college. And here I am today. So it's been a great run.
So you've worked in the stadiums, you've worked in the arenas. When you retire, do you just want to give it all up? Or is it like, you know what, I want to do something small and just book a singer-songwriter room like the Triple Door at that point?
You know what? There's days when I say just that. And then there's other days that say, I'm going to hang in there, a lot longer. So I go back and forth. But it's been a great business. I love this business. Get to hang out with people like you, Dan, and meet great people in this industry. So it's been great.
So you, as a venue manager, get to go to a lot of the conferences.
Correct.
Of all of them, what do you think is the best conference to get business from?
Lately, for me, it's been AIBA.
You like AIBA in Nashville the best?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
All right, that's high praise.
Every time I go, I come out with something. I score somehow with a show or two.
Well, Tim Higgins, Kent, Washington, Seattle Market, the Ascent Showwear Center, joining us on Promoter 101. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you, Dan.
Tim's good people. Thrilled to have him on the show. Always great to have our SMG brother in here on Promoter 101.
This is Meg White from ICM, and you're listening to Promoter 101.
That'll do it. Episode 121 of Promoter 101. We've got to thank all of our guests today. From SMG, Tim Higgins. From Paradigm, Seth Malasky. We hope that you're enjoying these bite-sized portions of this podcast on a weekly basis. And if you are, let us know. We want to hear from you. You can write us at Steiny at promoter101.net. That'll hit both of us.
Hey, we'll be back this Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Episode 122 coming at you next Monday. Scheduling note, make sure you're ready for it. We're going to have back on the podcast from Paradigm, Seth Malasky sitting in the hot seat.
Plus a war story from Larry Butler. Now, you may think this is a rerun because Larry Butler's been here before. But this is a brand new war story. Him talking about the best food to eat when you're not America in America. Brand new vintage war story from Larry Butler. How it's vintage and brand new at the same time. It actually is. Trust me. Larry Butler back on the podcast next week.
It's new to you for sure. And until then, we're going to be wishing you sold out shows for the week ahead.
Cheers.
Call your mother.
This is Eddie Clemens from United Talent Agency. I'm here on Promoter 101.